Hey everyone, Mitch here from the Commander's Quarters, and on today's episode, I'm going to be taking you through a 10-minute tech time on Jetmir. That's right, a deck tech in 10 minutes or less on Jetmir. So, with that said, let's get this timer started and let's get going. So, Jetmir Nexus of Revels is a 5/4 cat demon for 1 red, green, white, and it says, creatures you control get +1/+0 and have vigilance as long as you control 3 or more creatures. Now, if you've got 6 or more creatures, you get an extra +1/+0 and you get trample, and if you get 9 or more creatures, you get double strike and an extra +1/+0. So, basically, go wide and wide and wider, and once you get to, that largest amount, that's +3/+0, vigilance, trample, and double strike, and your creatures are going to be hitting for a ton. So this commander really wants you to go really wide and, yeah, be very aggressive and hit your opponents for a lot. So let's start off by talking about the ramp package in this deck. Obviously, some early fantastic ramp spells are Search for Tomorrow, Secure Tri-Builder, and Rampant Growth. Secure Tri-Builder is one I really want to highlight because, yeah, it can be a creature we can sacrifice for a land early, or, later in the game. This thing can hit really hard if we've got a big army. Next up, Edge of Autumn, Fawn of Fertility, other great turn 2 ramp spells, which we can also have some flexibility with Edge of Autumn if we want to cycle it later to by sacrificing a land to draw a card, we can. Cultivate and Harrow, great ways to ramp as well as help fix our mana and get more and more lands into play. And then, of course, we've got Fertile Ground, Gruul Signet, and Talisman of Unity. Again, we want to be very low to the ground, very aggressive with this deck, and ramp quickly to get things out quickly and just to start hitting hard. Next up, though, let's move on to tokens, and we've got a ton of ways to make tokens in this deck very efficiently. I mean, Hordeling Outburst, 3 mana, 3 goblins, what's not to love? Increasing Devotion, 5 mana, 5 humans, and Fungal Sprouting is going to make us X saplings based on the Gray Spiderman creatures we control. I mean, keep in mind, Jetmir itself just has 5 power, and again, if we get extra bonuses based on it pumping creatures, yeah, we can get a ton of tokens out of this 4-mana spell. Next up, we've got some X spells that can help as well, the Creative Justice and March of Multitudes. Multitudes can be even just more impactful because, again, it has those tokens with lifelink, essentially, that's going to be making, so yeah, we can get a ton of life with this. Visions of Glory, once we are set up, can make us an absurd amount of creatures. It says, create a 1/1 white human creature token for each creature you control, and we can flash it back, so yeah, this can make us a ton of tokens and just basically double, essentially quadruple our army, essentially in one spell. Next up, we've got some creatures that can help us out as well with Siege Gang, Commander, Hornet Queen, and Phylath. Siege Gang is going to make us 3 goblins. Hornet Queen is going to make us 4 1/1 flyers with Death Touch. And Phylath is going to make us a 0/1 plant for each basic land we control. On top of that, it's got Landfall. Whenever land is battlefield under your control, put 4+1 counters on target plant we control. So, yeah, essentially, we can make a plant very large, or, multiple plants pretty large. And, yeah, again, with that double strike, if we end up getting that with the Trample and Vigilance, good luck to your opponents. Next up, let's talk about some token generators, though. On top of just, having those normal effects that just make a bunch of tokens right away, we've got some token generators that make tokens over time, like From Beyond, Assemble Legion, and Song of the World Soul. From Beyond's going to make us a 1/1 Eldrazi Scion, which we can sacrifice for mana, or again, it can help grow our army. Assemble Legion's going to keep making us more and more and more soldiers each turn based on the number of muster counters on it. And Song of the World Soul, this can be a very impactful card. It says whenever you cast a spell, populate. So yeah, once we just start getting any kind of a token in play, any spell we cast is going to populate, and we can keep getting more and more tokens. And again, if we've got some pretty big tokens, that can really help us out. Speaking of big tokens, we'll get to one here in a bit. Amiri Angel, Maya, and Rampaging Balos are fantastic in this deck as well. Some landfall triggers that make tokens. Amiri Angel is going to make us 1/1 flyers. Maya is going to make us 1/1 white human creature tokens. And then it also gives our creatures an anthem effect as well. And then Rampaging Balos, this one is really fantastic. Whenever a land enters battlefield under your control, you get a 4/4 beast. So yeah, have fun populating that. Next up, Dragonmaster Outcast, speaking of big tokens, is going to make us a 5/5 Dragon with Flying under upkeep if we got 6 or more lands. Loyal Apprentice counts on our commander being in play, and if it is, we're going to make a 1/1 Thopter combat. And then Kranko, speaking of combat, when it attacks, we get a counter on it. Then we create a number of 1/1 goblins equal to its power. And yeah, again, that counts any kind of anthems, including our commander's anthem as well. So this can make a ton of tokens on attack. Next up, we've got some cast triggers with Taurens, Young Pyromancer, and Arasta. Tauren says whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 1/1 green and white human creature token with training. So not only can this make tokens, but it can help make things bigger as well. Young Pyromancer says whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, create a 1/1 red elemental creature token. So yeah, we can just gain, benefits from both creatures and from instant sorceries, depending on which of these is in the field. Speaking of which, Arasta is going to benefit us when our opponents cast instant sorceries as well, making us a 1/2 spider with reach. And then this is actually a really fun play with Talani Summoner. It has Ascend. Whenever it attacks, you can pay X in a red. If you do, create X1 red elemental creature tokens that are tapped and attacking. At the beginning of the next end step, exile those tokens unless you have the City's Blessing. So even if we don't have the City's Blessing, which we probably will, because again, in this kind of a deck, we can make a ton of tokens very quickly. Even just popping those tokens out and just swinging with them and, getting that benefit, even bigger benefits from our commander. Again, this can put us over the edge, from that, second benefit to the third benefit with our commander, and it can help us hit for a ton. So those little tokens are just 1/1s, but again, with our commander, they're basically +3/+0, so what, 4 1s, again, with trample and double strike. Have fun, opponents. Let's move on, though, and talk about card advantage, ways to actually get to all these awesome cards. And yeah, we can draw a ton of cards with things like Shamanic Revelation and Camaraderie, which are each going to draw us cards for each creature that we control. They also can gain us some life as well, and Camaraderie can pump our creatures too. Rite of Harmony says, whenever a creature enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, this turn, draw a card, and we can flash it back. So yeah, we play this, we get a ton of tokens in play, we draw a ton of cards, everyone's happy. Well, mostly us. Anyways, next up, Rumor Gatherer, Garruk's Pact Leader, and Soul of Harvest are creatures that can help us out as well. Rumor Gatherer says, whenever the creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. If the second time this ability is resolved this turn, draw a card instead. So great card selection and great card advantage there. Garruk's Pact Leader is going to draw a card whenever a creature with power 3 or greater enters the battlefield under our control. And yeah, again, this counts Anthem effects too. So if we just have a 1/1 token entering the battlefield and we're at our commander's +2/+0, we're going to be gaining a lot of card advantage from this. Soul of Harvest only counts when non-token creatures come into play, but we've got a decent amount of those as well, obviously. Next up, Garruk Primal Hunter and Soul's Majesty can each draw us cards based on the grace power of a creature that we control. So yeah, even again, just Jetmir just on its own is just 5. And if we've got more creatures in play, that can be even more. And then, of course, Harmonize, just a solid draw spell in green. Draw 3 for 4. And Escape to the Wild is going to have us exile the top 5 cards of our library. Impulse Draw, essentially, for 5. And then we can also play an additional land this turn. So ramp and temporary card advantage. That's fantastic. Now let's move on to removal, though. Outland Liberator is a fantastic one that I do want to highlight. By paying 1, we can sacrifice, destroy target artifact or enchantment, and if this flips to the back, we've got Frenzy Trapbreaker, which can do the exact same thing, but it can also destroy artifacts and enchantments on attack as well, so this can dish out a lot of pain. Next up, Cathar Commando, Reclamation Stage, and Mass Vandal are more creatures that can destroy or actually exile, and with Mass Vandal, artifacts and enchantments. And again, just having these in play can be fantastic to add to our total creature count, and then also to, obviously, just be able to swing with them too. Next up, Sundering Growth and Artifact Mutation are also great removal spells. Sundering Growth can destroy target artifact and enchantment, then we populate, so we can get another token. And Artifact Mutations destroy target artifact, and we get X 1/1 green sapling creature tokens for X of that artifact's mana cost. Martial Coup is another way to just destroy a lot of creatures and then also make a ton of creatures in the process as well. And Hour of Reckoning, speaking of destroying creatures, is going to destroy all non-token creatures. So yeah, this can be a great, essentially one-sided board wipe. We might lose our commander, but we keep everything else essentially for the most part. And then we've got some more wrath spells that can actually get rid of a lot of things with Cleansing Nova, which can destroy all our creatures or all artifacts and enchantments, and a Crow's Vengeance, which destroys all artifacts, creatures, and enchantments, or we can cycle away if we don't need it. Next up, let's talk about protecting our own things, though. Rootborn Defenses, Make a Stand, Unbreakable Formation are great ways to give our creatures indestructible. Rootborn Defenses also helps us populate. Make a Stand's going to pump our creatures, and Unbreakable Formation can give our creatures Vigilance to give a counter on them if we cast it during our main phase. Requiem Angel is also a good kind of board wipe protection spell, creature I should say. When it's in play, whenever another non-spirit creature token you control dies, put a 1/1 spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Just great board wipe protection. If someone decides to wipe the board, cool, we replace our army with a flying spirit army. Great for us. And finally, let's talk about the grand finale. Akroma's Blessing is a great way to give our creatures protection, which can, actually be a good defensive spell. We choose whatever color we need to protect our creatures from, or it can be a great way to get our creatures through as well in combat. Champion of Lambholt, speaking of getting creatures through, creatures with power less than Champion of Lambholt's power can't block creatures we control. Of course, this counts, any kind of anthem that we have like our commanders, and of course on top of that, whenever another creature enters battlefield under our control, we get a counter on Champion of Lambholt. Bearers of Yavimaya, just a great card in this deck. It gives our creatures haste, so yeah, make our tokens and swing away very quickly for some damage. Again, we want to be aggressive. Next up, the golden pig of this deck, the number 1 card of our 99, and that card is Sylvan Awakening, a sorcery that says, until your next turn, all lands you control become 2/2 elemental creature tokens with reach, indestructible, and haste. There are still lands. This card can basically make us an army, an indestructible army out of nowhere, and can help us easily get to, again, that third requirement, so that all of our creatures get that +3/+0, Vigilance, Trample, and Double Strike. So yeah, these lands themselves are going to be, 5/2s, again, that have Double Strike and Trample. Good luck to your opponents. Speaking of which, we've got Kamal's Will and Rude Awakening, which can also make our lands into creatures, essentially. Rude Awakening can be especially effective. Kind of risky as well, though. It doesn't give our lands indestructible, but it lets us untap them so we can swing with our full land force. And now, really quick, I think I got 10 seconds left. The price, the Commander itself is decently expensive, I believe, like $5 to $8 or so, but the rest of the deck is very budget friendly. And I think I forgot to mention this as well. Every single card in this deck outside the Commander is less than $1. Okay, I think that's 10 minutes right there. Sheesh. Okay. Okay, now that I'm out of breath, I hope that you enjoyed the 10-minute tech time on Jetmir. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.